I want to talk to you today about integrity. When I was a boy, I remember going to church one Sunday morning with my mother, and the preacher shared an illustration I will never forget. He said, imagine that you're the one that's preaching up here on this pulpit. You're sharing the Word of God, and you're opening up the words of Jesus for the whole entire congregation. And then all of a sudden, a screen pops down behind you. Now, this is just a regular projection screen, a screen that you see in church, a screen that you see in a conference room, at school, or whatever the case may be. And then he said, and I'll never forget this, as you're preaching, or perhaps you're having a conversation with a friend, or you're in a group of people and you're speaking, all of a sudden this screen that's behind you starts to play what you actually lived when no one was looking. When the doors were closed, when no one saw what you actually did. I remember thinking in my mind, this preacher is crazy. There's no way. I would not feel comfortable if I was having a conversation with you and then a screen popped up behind me showing you everything that I did when no one was looking. I remember thinking that in my mind as a young boy, sitting in that church, listening to this preacher's illustration. I remember arguing in my mind and saying, this preacher doesn't understand that your private life is different from your public life. They're not the same. They're totally different. What people live in private is something different than they live in public. I think we have a clear indication of that reality in society today. But then I began to realize as I grew older that that's not the case. In fact, to really experience life is to have a fusion, a union of true private life and true public life. As we say in Spanish, tarde que temprano. In other words, sooner or later, your private life will start to seep out into your public life. What you actually do in private, when no one is looking, when no one is watching you, when no one is seeing, will actually start to seep out into your public life and actually demonstrate for everyone before their eyes who you really are. In the first century, there was a sagacious rabbi called Jesus, and he uttered these words saying, "Your eye is a lamp that provides light for your body." When your eye is good, your whole body is filled with light. So Jesus says, if your eye is good, your whole body is filled with light. But then he says, when your eye is bad, your whole body is filled with darkness. And then he says something that in this particular version of the Bible really has me completely floored. Jesus says, and if the light you think you have is actually darkness, how deep that darkness is. When I read this for the first time, I remember thinking in my mind, perhaps this is what it means to fuse together your public life and your private life. Because if they live in two different spectrums, if they live separated from each other, you may think that your public life is filled with light. But if your private life is filled with darkness, that darkness is going to come and start seeping out and affecting your private life, your public life, I should say. Dwight L. Moody, a 19th century preacher, said these very profound words. He said, now watch this, character is what a man is, to be, the verb to be, is in the dark. If I were to take Dwight L. Moody's words and switch the word character to the word integrity, integrity is what a man, woman is in the dark. When no one is looking, when no one is around, integrity is what you are. By definition, integrity is a state of being whole and undivided. How is your integrity today? Is your integrity divided? Is your integrity fragmented into your private life and into your public life? Are you living two different lives? A life that everyone sees in public, but no one knows how you really are in private. You see, when your integrity is in check in private, your integrity will reflect in public. So today, what are you watching when your wife's not there? What are you watching when your roommate's not there? What are you listening to that's affecting your actual spiritual life? Are you living a dichotomy, a fight, a struggle between your private life and your public life? Are they fused together? If they are not fused together, tarde que temprano, sooner or later, your public life will reflect who you really are. Because as Dwight L. Moody says, character is what a man is in the dark. And what I say is integrity is what a man and woman is in the dark. Until the next time, when we have a chance to meet, remember, trust him, for he knows what he's doing.